the recordings sometimes are as valuable, if not more valuable, than the live session because you're listening in a different way. So we've been on a journey, and everybody's going at their own pace. I happen to be in the laundry room today, so that's why you got this busy background. So tell people a little about, and where are you, and a little bit about what you're doing.
And that was directed to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I live in Rochester, New York. I have 2 ministry jobs. I'm a Presbyterian minister. I pastor a church part-time that's very, very small, about 25 on an average Sunday if you average through the year. Very healthy, very engaged in mission, and also facing financial changes and something that's got to be a game changer this year. I also work for the greater Rochester community of churches, and I'm the office administrator. I'm also the communicator, and kind of work in that administrative way. I'm also a musician and work at a nonprofit music school and play in a nonprofit trio. So I just live in the world of nonprofits.
And you never sleep.
I never. Right.
Little fact, I grew up Presbyterian. I served PCUSA churches for 30 of my 40 years of music ministry, from 120 to 12,000.
And we met doing a Lilly-funded workshop, actually, where ministers of music and ministers came together in Louisville. Yeah. And I've been on your mailing list ever since.
Now I remember. I have a good memory. It's just really short.
That's okay. That was a long time ago.
That was a very valuable session. That was a good.
It was.
That was a learning cohort, and I learned by listening more than I did by talking in that one, which I think is probably a pretty good model. Mm. But it's so good to see you again.
You too.
Victoria, you've been all over the world. You're back. You were back last week, but welcome. The people have magical gifts here, and we're focusing on how do we be better at what we're called to be doing and have more impact in the world. And so, Debbie, I'll stay on if you have questions about the technology. And Susanna is here. Susanna, anything you want to share with the group about what we've been doing behind the scenes to facilitate this process?
We are working on a form or a page for you to access all of these replays in your membership site, and we will send out an email when that page is ready.
Great.
Yeah, I'm recording these, and there's just some little gems with each one. And on that page, I think, Susanna, I would think if we put up the video and the audio, so you could download either. And sometimes I listen to audios when I'm on a long drive. Kind of helps me stay awake, but it also, there's things that I hear that I didn't hear first time. So it's always good to re-listen to things. So Debbie's in New York. Julia, you're in Vegas. Mm-hmm. And Adrian is in this exotic place called Lynchburg, Virginia. She's actually down the road. So Adrian, how are you doing today? Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted. I'm going to unmute you. Try it again.
Okay, I'm doing great. How are you? How's everybody?
Yeah. We got big ideas here. And so let me bring in Erlene and Ramona. And so Ramona had sent me an email. Hello, Ramona. I know people are really digging into the content when they say, Hugh, you said this, but I can't find it. And so Ramona said, there's a goals worksheet. I don't know where to find it. So that's because I didn't put it there. So I emailed it to you, and I believe, Susanna, you showed me how to do it. One of us is going to put it in the module 3. So if you find some indiscrepancies, it's me. Leaders set up problems, So what I asked you to do for today is to think about your why statement. And y'all need talking. We got some noise going on. So if you're not talking, you were muted before I unmuted you. So if you would kindly mute, that way you can make noise and it'd be your own noise. So I asked people, we did this a little bit, and we're still working on creating the why, the purpose statement. Why do we do this? Why do we do what we're doing? And I had recommended the TED Talk by Simon Sinek, Start with Why. And it's really the fundamental thing that people need to know. If they don't know why it's important, they really don't want to listen to what you're doing. And so I ask people to think about their purpose statement, their why. This is our whole reason for existing. And so, do any of you want to share what you've come to in your current wisdom? You'll have to unmute when you speak. And really, there's no right or wrong. And if we give you some input, it's not criticism and it's not stuff you have to take. It's just our response to it. And it might be valuable, and you might say thank you, and that'll be the end of it. So I would, though, take advantage of the cohort's energy, and we all hear differently. And you might get some comment that'll say, oh, I didn't realize this is what was happening in the eyes of the listener. So who would like to go first and talk about why your project, your entity, your nonprofit, your ministry, why is it important? What's your purpose statement? Don't all speak at once.
I can go. It's Julia.
Yay.
I don't have anything written down, but my why is the group is to support people who have loved ones in the prison system. And my why is so that nobody has to go through it alone when somebody's incarcerated or taken into the prison system, that there's support and there's awareness around so people can talk about it. And by raising awareness, not only will people that go through it have the information they need, but people on the outside who have never been through it can have empathy towards those that are on the outside going through it.
Those are very good. I would call, that's your vision, and I would call what you've just said was your impact. And I would suggest your why is because there's a whole lot of people that are left out.
Yeah.
So there's people that are left out of the system. They have no system, they have no advocate, they have no training or whatever. And so what I would suggest is think about what's that piece, and what you just delivered is a very powerful impact. This is what the result's going to be. And that will be the piece that people will say, oh, how can I support that? And so this is what exists. We have a whole bunch of people who could do better, but they're lost. There's no system. Society has left them out. You know, and if you had some hard statistics there, and I've got a group in, if Danielle comes in, she's in Fort Lauderdale. It's Mission Zero. It's for veterans with PTSD or PSTD, whichever it is. There's 21 million veterans, and like every so many minutes, one commits suicide. And that's a compelling reason to do something. And there's no system. They're falling through the cracks of the medical system, the VA, and any kind of support programs. So is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Hugh, I have a question because I do know a little bit of Julia's, actually I know her story, in that this is very personal because it hit home. And so your why really is you went through all of this pain, right?
Yeah, and there's no information out there for people. So I guess my why is to provide the information for people.
But it starts with a personal, your why is you suffered through the lack of information. Mm-hmm. And you know that there are millions of people out there. And I don't know, Hugh, jump in if I'm off track, but I think that's very compelling. And that's why I know your why is because it hits really close to home because you experienced it, you lived it, and you worked your way through it. And you don't want people to have to do that anymore.
You're right on.
Victoria, Ramona, and Erlene and I met each other at a CEO Space. It's a business growth conference. And what we're demonstrating is instead of being criticizing, we're plussing. It's called adding value. So here's something you could do to add value to it. So please accept that as a value added. And reason we're in a cohort is because we don't know it all, and other people can hear differently. Julia, would you like to hear from any other of your colleagues here?
If anybody has anything to add, I know last time somebody had talked about having similar, I don't think she's on now. had a similar mission.
That was Danielle. She's at the Mission Zero, yes. And
I have something to add, because well, I am in agreement 100%. I have actually this why has been quite a lot of work for me, because I had so many whys. I had so many reasons why I want to do this, that then I realized I really had to stop and think hard, because, I kind of figured I had to mold the whys to my audience. When I first started this, I had a couple of advisors that knew my true life of why, my true reason why I started this, with always stem from personal life. And I think for most of us who are doing anything in the nonprofit world, we are doing it from personal life experiences. We're not doing it for the money, especially most of us that are in the nonprofit world. So, I struggle a lot while I was doing this, thinking with that, putting it together, my true why, without getting into conflict of eliminating the true reasons of my heart, and then at the same time losing people's interest, because my purpose has so much heart and so much love in it, that those who don't have those feelings, they just lose interest, right? So I actually, I even bought a book. It's a great book. I don't know if you guys read it. It's Rick Warren's book. It's called The Purpose-Driven Life. Amazing book. I just started it, but I tell you, boy, it's amazing, because it boils down, it makes you think about why we are here for at the end of the day. So, and the other thing, Ramona, I think, was part of, in CEO space, we all had to share this snap thing, and the snap drove me bananas, because in the snap, you can't put a lifetime, but you have to come up with a snap. You have to come up with a snap. And Ramona knows, because I think I almost broke down in tears in one of the snap sessions. I'm like, oh my God, it's like, this is driving me mad, because you guys are all you care about is the money, the why, the money, the money, the why. It's like, I really wanted to scream and leave. So I think my big question for you is, how do you balance that? How do we put all those whys, which come from the heart, and then have a compelling why that will encourage our people, our donors, to come in and donate, or our funders to become funders?
who's the question to?
It's to you, Hugh. To you, like, how do you balance that?
We got lots of rhyming things today, Hugh. So what she's referring to is an elevator pitch that's unique to CEO space. It's a problem, solution. What do you need people to help you with? Or here's what I have. Here's why it's good for you. Here's what I want you to do. And it's basically 20 to 30 seconds of an overview so that people want to talk to you. So it's not a fully inclusive statement. It's getting their attention. And we really need to disrupt people's pattern. They're expecting you to say something, which is boring. And we need to interrupt their thinking. And this would be something that church leaders need to know, because church is boring. It's hurt people. We don't need to belong to that cult. So we need to have some new way of saying this is really important. So Victoria, it's the essential message. So if you took all of your whys and you were to put them on index cards and put them on your dining room table, and then study that and say, what is this all about? We're impacting people's lives. And so there's an overarching piece of this, and these are subsets. So we're answering a question, but it's the wrong question. The question is what's above that. What is the why? The why is you are a force for change. Get out of your way. And your wisdom is far surpasses your years, chronological years. and you see things a whole lot differently than other people. So if you put all these down and think, okay, what am I called to do? What is the ultimate impact? And what is the problem that we are changing the most? Now, there's money left with casinos that people don't cash in, which they could give casinos. They could give to charities. There's this whole piece of that business has no element of philanthropy tied to it, no philanthropic mindset. So what you're doing is you're a force for helping people rethink their purposes, reposition their assets, and then to create a stream of goodness for others without really taxing themselves a whole lot. They're really reassigning resources for good.
Well, I came out, after a long time, I came up with something that is similar. I came up with these two whys. There are millions of dollars being abandoned in the world today. In Nevada alone, over $12 million are abandoned every year. Meanwhile, 1/3 of the world population lives with less than $2 a day and experiences great suffering and loss.
What do y'all think of that?
I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
Say it again, Julian.
I said, I think it's powerful.
Debbie?
Exactly what I was saying. Yes.
Y'all meet, and some of you know Sandy. She's our acquisitions editor for the Nonprofit Performance Magazine. And I'll remind you to be sure to put your address in the community on your personal page so you'll get your print copy of it. So powerful. What else would you say? Y'all, the rest of you weigh in on what she just shared with us.
Awesome. I think when you answered Victoria and you said that she sees things differently than others and that her wisdom is beyond what we can understand, it kind of co-mingles with her struggle to get to her why. And what she did with her why just now really touched all of us and woke us up. And I think that what we're seeing is that there's a why that we have that's very internal and very emotional, and it's our gut driver. It's what makes us passionate to do what we want to do. And we are so wanting to express that part of ourselves. And then it's a struggle because they hear this thing. It's like, oh my God, now it has to be 60 seconds, right? So there's two pieces to it. One of it is a business piece that says you sit across from a dinner table and you try to get somebody's attention by letting them know what you're up to. And then the other piece is really resolving that why. And that could be resolved over, 15 pages of writing, where it could be resolved over writing a story of your life. It could be resolved over writing a 5-minute speech. There's a cathartic process that people benefit from going through to get to their why. It's not the same why as over the dinner table. But I see that often we try to combine the two because we haven't gone through the cathartic piece. It makes it really hard to get to the 50-second pieces, Does that make sense?
It makes huge sense. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
and I find that in a lot because, I'm working with Blink, right? And they had all these questions for me. That's a marketing team that wants to get my message out into the world, and all of a sudden I'm demanded to give all this stuff in blurbs. I'm not to that point, right? I went back to Hugh's stuff and I said, okay, this is going to help us get to this. Like my partner's like, no, we got to do this. We got to. It's like, no, we can't just do that. It's not available to us yet. We got to do the work that leads up to it, So the longhand, I think, is very helpful. The cathartic thing that you do is to join a storytelling class, to, hire a coach to help you get all of this out. But then it boils down to a minute. To try to do the minute first is excruciating.
Well, there's a book called The Essential Message, and FedEx tells you in one set of words when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. And Domino's started 20 minutes or it's free. There's sayings that capsulize. Ours isn't that simple. However, we try to make, as Einstein said, make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to come up with a capsulized statement. We want to give people a whole lot of data. We also have the risk of confusing people with too much data. And what I know is a confused mind says no, whether it's money, whether it's a board position, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a collaboration. If people can't get it, a snapshot. And Victoria, I appreciate you sharing the struggle. And Ramona, thank you for validating. The stuff I've created actually works if you go through it chronologically. And the ultimate goal here is to get that clarity. And so Victoria, it's very difficult to do this. So do not assume because we put it first that it's easy. But it's a place that we really need to start thinking about, because as we go through this process, come back and it will help you. It will help you rethink it. But it does open doors, and when you're sitting across somebody, we're talking about the SNAP as an intentional process to get people to verbalize what's so important and what they need other people to do. And it's a culture where people want to give you leads. We just have to tell them what that lead looks like. And so it's a very distinctive exercise. However, if we can master that, we can find out that we can capture a concept and share it with people and not waste words. Because after we go past a certain point, it's a lot diminishing returns. It's less valuable. Like Debbie in the churches I served, we decided we only do 3 announcements from the pulpit because anyone after that just watered down everything.
Right.
Wait a minute, I'm on overload.
Right.
We tend to want to tell people everything's going on, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
So Victoria, there's a balance here. And what you just articulated, I agree with them. The Arlene or Adrian, you want to weigh in? And Debbie, you want to weigh in on what she said?
Yeah, no, I think, and what struck me, and I'm still trying to work my way through it, the thing that struck me was the word abandoned. And that I think brings with it some emotional ties with it and so it did cause a stop.
Yeah.
One of the other things, though, I want to really point out is that I think CEO Space provides a great learning platform for a 30-second that you should be using everywhere. And your snap, where you get a powerful snap that catches people's attention and causes them to either engage with you immediately, say, I want something, or to follow up with you and say, I need an appointment with you because what you said really got my attention. And that's your whole goal at that point, is get the attention enough so that they want to do something more at that point. And so as you're out doing any other kind of networking where you have a powerful 30-second, 60-second snap type message, it then is going to bring you more people who are the people you're going to want to be talking to anyway, because they're the one, because the reality is that the right people are going to be drawn to you for your message. The wrong ones are not, and you really didn't care about them anyway.
That's very profound.
That's very wise.
I have to agree with Arlene on the word abandon. It got me, and I just sort of stopped, and I wanted to know more, but I didn't get to know more in that bit of the why. But it seemed to me almost like a tag for something else, or a code word for something else that I didn't know. And then I also began to think there's some agenda in here, and maybe I'm not quite at the place where you're helping me to get on to it. So if you could break it down just a slight bit more, maybe the word abandon is the second piece, the piece that comes when somebody says, that's interesting, what else can you tell me? Or I'm curious about this.
You know, you guys are all amazing, I have to say. It's like You are unbelievable, all of you, because this is the part of the why that I always avoid, which is my personal life story. I was an abandoned child. My brother and I were found sleeping in a phone booth, and we were taken in by Sisters of Charity who raised us.
Wow.
So I want to do this because I believe in charity. I am here today the result of charity workers.
Wow. Wow.
And so kind of like
really,
Julia, I might suggest that why is going to be far more compelling. Because honestly, in a lot of ways, the money from the casinos is the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
The why is, I was struck by people living on under $2. That definitely caught my attention, and that grabbed me from an emotional standpoint. But your other piece of that story, I think, is a powerful part, that because you've just let open a vulnerable part of you that allows me to connect with you on a whole different level. And at that point, I want to know more.
I know, but you guys are a very special crowd. The crowd that I deal with, tough crowd. Casino guys don't care about that part. They don't want to hear it. It's really, this is something that has been the biggest part of my biggest blog, that I realize I'm talking to an audience that just doesn't care.
So are you talking to the wrong audience?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Well, and Victoria, don't underestimate your ability to be a catalyst for people to change.
Oh, I don't. I don't. I agree with that, you, but still, that is a big block when you're talking. I there is a great passage in the Bible about people who listen but don't have ears. It's a people who see but don't have eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that passage.
Also has multiple references on what we think about, and we give energy to what we think about.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know. But I love what you guys said. So maybe there is a way that I connect that abandoned into a deeper place.
Well, and it's your choice ultimately, but you're hearing some feedback from people who are listening with different kind of empathetic ears.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ramona triggered a thought for me. We bring to our projects a unique advantage because of who we are and our story, and that really validates it. However, it's not about us, and I'm glad none of y'all are confusing those on this call. Some people have trouble, it's my passion, it's my thing, it's my, even in their language. I want this, I want that. And so the more we can think about it being a community effort, we are the visionary. It's our vision. And we want to, and the other quote I give you is from James Allen. He says, we do not, I've neutralized the language. We do not attract what we need. We attract what we are. So you're very positive about what you're doing, and every no means you're closer to the next yes. And Earlene is so right. You want to go where your people are, and you're not going to convince people, but the next time you go back to one of these casino owners, you're going to come back with a different story and a position of strength. And so I wouldn't mark them dead yet, but I wouldn't waste time with them either. But next time you come back, you're going to have a compelling story. And by the way, you can play with this or not. We're going to go somewhere else. So being very polite down here in Lynchburg is Adrian. Would you like to hear from Adrian? I just unmuted you. Hey there. You're very polite.
Hey, so the one thing I was thinking about, I definitely agree with everything that everyone else said, and definitely, tapping into your why, your own experience, and that whole passion, I think is going to be a very key driver for you. The only thing that I would add is that as tough and as rugged and difficult as they may seem to be, remember they also too have a why. And so tapping into their why might be different than yours, but I think tapping into their why. And I heard you say before on another call, a lot of times that's greed and, like self-promotion. But if you would look, maybe it may take a little bit of investigation, maybe a little bit of conversation and spending time with them, but below or beneath the surface of that greed and what you're seeing is that negative thing is generally some other area of experience or hurt or, some type of motivation. And so your why is a positive. And I think, it may take, like I said, a little bit of time in terms of building relationships, but I just, kind of want to put that bug in your ear to think about their why and to go beyond the surface of the negative why and try to find, that positive. So for example, I'm sure as greedy as these individuals may be, they have, wives or children, personal things that are important to them. And every individual, no matter how greedy or money hungry they are, want to see a good life for their children or, a positive life for their family. So I think if you can, scratch below the surface of that negative why and find their positive why, that'll give you some additional insight as well.
Great. So Adrian, as long as you've got the mic, why don't you want to share why with us? Have you been able to drill down on some compelling statement you want to share?
Well, I really kind of struggled with the why because it's very clear to me, but I feel like I need to, kind of change it, adapt it, and, break it down in a different way for other individuals. If someone were to blatantly ask me my why for what I'm doing, it's simply because God said so. It's really that plain, and easy for me. But as we were talking, about the why and personal experience, some of the things came up for me. So I think we have, for the person that is just joining us today, I am in ministry as well. And my ministry and nonprofit organization has a huge vision. And a portion of that vision has to do with providing resources, doing innovation and projects and that type of thing in the areas of education, agriculture, and technology. And so as we were just sitting right here and I was thinking about the why as far as education, for me, it reminded me that as a child, I was always, had access to the best possible education. My mother always had me, in private schools, and then, with our organization, I have a fully accredited online K-12 academy that actually is just kind of sitting there right now that just needs to be promoted. Actually, people can be enrolled in the school right now. I really literally just need to get the website and up and marketing and things done. And so as I began to think about the why in this education sector, another thing was as my children were growing up, I homeschooled them. And so, just the reasons why I chose homeschool and the fact that, some children need to learn in a different type of environment or a different way. So in the school, there's a lot of project-based learning and things like that. So just this conversation here just helped me kind of redefine my why. For the education part of, of the vision. And so just to add, as a caveat, I now also have a really big, I don't want to call it an issue, homework assignment, but it's really good because now I'm kind of working backwards because this week I, was really blessed to form a major partnership in the area of education that is going to give me access to do something really big and provide services to a lot of children in the area of education. So what I need to do now is I need to pull together my why. I'm going to be hosting, as a result of this, I'm going to be hosting a big event next summer. And so now I need to be able to pull together my why and sort of the shape and the form of all of this, because as I get ready to announce and promote what's getting ready to happen, there's going to be a lot of individuals that, now have an opportunity to give to the organization and to see, real live what I'm doing. So I'm kind of working. It went from last week to, okay, let me do this, to get projects and opportunities, to now kind of working backwards to get all this, stuff done. So yeah, that's what's happening for me right now.
As I've learned from my wife, there's more than one right answer to things. You can approach it different ways. And I think your global why is you're helping people be the person that God's created them to be, regardless of their situation, lack of resources, or personal challenges. And that would apply to probably all your projects. So think more globally on that. So Earlene, this is like a lot of the meal tables that I've facilitated to see. We have people sit around a meal table like this. Used to be 3 times a day. And I've done 900 of those for the last 12 years. So this is something I'm very familiar with. So I'd like to, hear from the others. So we've got Ramona and Earlene and Debbie. So who else? Earlene, are you ready to? You want to share something? Thank you, Adrian. I love the way everybody's so transparent and just what I'm struggling with. And that's a sign of good leadership, because we don't know it all. And just to lay it out there, it's prompting people to come into the space and help you with it. So Earlene, do you want to share?
Yeah, I want to share something first that was triggered by something that Adrian said at the very beginning, and that was kind of going back to even Victoria. And it was a reminder of another webinar I just came off a little bit ago. But that is, the more that we're out there looking to serve, and that was even the casino owners, the more that they're going to want to know how they can serve us back. And so that tagged right into what Adrian was saying about they come off as greedy, but there's something else that's driving them as well. And so where you can get down to how you serve them, then they have suddenly a different ear to hear you. And that was definitely a big reminder for me. But I think that the other thing that it's done for me is that I went from a place where I used to be in technology. I was easily leading and having conversations with people, but I didn't have to walk into a room of strangers and make friends. And what I learned best when I started networking was that it was a lot easier for me to walk in and figure out how I could help them than it was to walk in and try and sell them anything. And that, in the end, is what then brought me back a great deal more success. And so I offer that as just a thought that came to me. And I've gone all over with my why. Again, mine does go back to being very personal. And as we look today, even in 2016, kids were graduating from college with an average of $36,000 in student loan debts that they are then burdened with, in many cases, for most of their adult life. And so they're working 1, 2, 3 jobs in order just to make ends meet, instead of being able to live a life they love. And their family's getting left behind. They're working 60, 70 hours a week. And in my case, that was my case. I worked 60, 70 hours a week, and I'm seeing the very same thing in my kids. I was a great teacher, I guess, but because they followed suit. But that isn't the life that I want to see for their kids. And as much as they are involved and engaged, they're still running at both ends, and they've got the debt that they're dealing with. And so going back and helping to start educating at the point of high school and college to make different choices and to undo some of the society's teaching of, you go to college, get a degree, get a great job, and life will be perfect. And as much as that was taught back when I was a kid, and in theory, I worked for the same company for 30 plus years, But that doesn't happen today, but we haven't changed that message much. And so at the core, it's getting back to what is it that you really, what do you love? What makes your life perfect? And then the other thought that goes back along with that is the amount of anxiety, depression, drug use, alcohol use, the bullying, all of those things we see are rooted more in lives that are so unhappy. And so where we can make a generational change and change the message, then that is at the core, I guess, of where I come from.
So your program is on financial literacy?
Yeah, and life skills. And so, but it's a basic program. It's starting out with the basics. It's not what the financial advisors teach. I had 3 financial advisors, my corporation plus 2 others, and things that I have learned since I took early retirement were never taught to me, but it would have made a huge difference on my life today had I known that 30 years ago.
So what's the essential problem that you're solving? What's the focus? What's the problem that you
the real problem is the poor financial choices that are made lead to a lifelong stress and the burden of the debt, stress from debt.
That's the reason you exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other pieces, like what I said to Julia, those are the impact you work. You give people this value. And so your why is, this is where people are trapped. They don't have the knowledge or the skills. And getting sucked under financially impacts the other parts of your life that you were talking about.
Right.
Anybody else hearing anything different? What are y'all hearing? I think you.
Yeah.
Well,
That
where
was well
Arlene
said.
mentioned the problems, I forgot the list of problems, the people being unhappy, taking drugs, and all those things that, distractions, but that's actually where greed can come from too, right? So it's an imbalance in the heart where you are greedy because you're not like seeking joy or seeking meaning, you're like seeking money, right? So it goes along with those other ailments that you mentioned. Greed is one.
I heard overworked too. The word overworked was also, it sounded like, too much, it's placed on working versus, enjoying a life, like you said, balance.
Mm-hmm.
And Arlene, David Gruder has a program called The Money Shadow. David Gruder is a clinical organizational psychologist. And actually, he's on the Nonprofit Exchange podcast talking about money shadow, if you go back far enough. And I'll try to find that. That's part of the trigger. They've grown up with parents that have some financial issues. And that there's in the work of Murray Bowen, there's a multi-generational transmission. Mm-hmm. And in the words of Richard Rohr, we tend to think of a left or right or up or down or good or bad decision. So it's dual thinking instead of let's look at some other options here. And so we tend to want to put things in this or that box, mm-hmm. and really it's not there. It's let's look and explore other opportunities. I think your essential piece is the deficiencies financially. Mm-hmm. Then it leads to other challenges that they're having in life, which
Absolutely.
Are lifelong.
Absolutely. And you're right, it is generational, which is why I'm partnering with the parent, giving the parent the same training I'm giving the kids. Because in many cases, although I'm not saying to the parent, I know you need this, I'm saying, let me help you with your kid. But in doing that, I'm giving them access to the same information and they can both be on the same page with the same message.
I'm going to put a book in the chat. It's called Extraordinary Relationships. It's by Roberta Gilbert. Roberta is my leadership coach going on 10 years in her 80s. She's a former colleague of Murray Bowen. It's the leadership system created by Murray Bowen. I think this book would be helpful to you understanding family systems.
Okay.
and it's leadership concepts. This isn't therapy. He went into leadership systems, and we learn about ourselves by studying our family of origin. But there's one of his 8 concepts is multi-generational transmission process. And so we do inherit things generationally, even from generations we never knew.
Right.
And so there's multiple reasons for that. But he pretty much gives us some things to think about. There's no bad or good. There's no prescriptives. And it's just basic awareness of what's going on. It's fundamentally awareness of self.
Right.
So it's differentiation of self is what most of that's about. But it's a way for you to get eyeballs on what's going on out there and offer some other clues. Before we move on from Earlene, anybody else want to weigh? All of these are just great projects. I commend you all for championing these. Any other comments before we move to Ramon?
I just had a quick question for Elaine. Is it in person or online, your class?
I have an online class that's being released within the next month. And then I have done in-person workshops here locally. Down the road, one of the next steps is actually going to include group coaching as well as individual coaching.
Okay.
So
could you send it to me?
What's that?
Could you send me the information?
Yeah, I can send you the information.
Earlene, why don't you share globally with all of us? If you'll send it out, I'll make sure everybody gets it.
Okay, perfect.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Julia, thank you for asking. Were you all ready for Ramona?
Oh, I'll address Arlene real quickly. I like what you're doing. I like the idea that the pressure needs to come off the kids a little bit, even kids that are much older. In our household, my boyfriend has constant pressure from his family because the old system worked really well for them. And so they don't understand why we, refuse to follow it. It's not working anymore, right?
Right.
So they keep trying to push us into this corner where even if we did do it, we would lose, right? So thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you.
And your why, Ramona?
Well, I'm creating a machine for picking up litter and for collecting data so that there could be a collective voice, so change could be made at a wider scale. So litter is a sign of our relationship with the earth, and I believe for us to understand how to be a part of the change, we need to improve our relationship with earth. And it's just like our relationship with ourselves, because we're actually not separate from earth. So just as you would take care of your own health and wellness, I believe that people need to start taking care of the health of the environment around them as well.
So litter is a bigger problem than we think, right?
Well, it's just gigantic. It's a sign of the symptoms of our lack of relationship with the earth. We throw things out into the streets. It's like we're treating our environment like a garbage can, and people aren't making the connection with, the drainage systems are going out to the ocean. They're saying that within, depending on what you're reading, within 2 or 30 years, that the plastic in the ocean is outweighing the fish. So it's a serious, serious problem.
Great. That's a great soundbite. Oh my word. I don't think the average person has that concept in their mind. And let me point out that your why statement, if you're doing a one-page presentation, you're doing a rotary speech, you're doing a one-on-one conversation with people, you're recruiting board members or raising donations, it begins with why. You start there. It's an integral part of people opening their brain to say, tell me more. That's the compelling piece. So that soundbite you had, Ramona, what is that soundbite that you said?
So depending on what you're reading, I've heard it in 2 years, I've heard it in 30 years. So they give the year 220, they give the year 250, that the amount of plastic in the ocean is to outweigh the weight of the fish.
Well, you could just say sometime in our near future, the plastics in the ocean will outweigh the fish. That's just one element of how we're using our world as a garbage dump, and it's strangling us. Something that gets people to think about the water bottle that they could jolly well fill up a reusable container that's filtered water at home. Scott and Ramona have a very passion about this, and they're driven by the social change, but a personal commitment to the globe. And it's one that would start with y'all, and it's more than a business or a nonprofit. It's a movement, and there's others that you can align with to create a more powerful movement. And I think being very clear on that. So anybody else want to weigh before I want to get Debbie in on this before we run out of time? Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I just have one comment, Ramona, that I think the individual impact, I'm one of those crazy ones that has been to get to zero waste. I've been trying for a long time to be zero waste. And it's basically impossible because every time I go to the grocery store, I come back with half a bag full of garbage. And, it's like even the grocery stores don't allow, everything is just in plastic. So I don't know. I kept thinking that the movement has to also somehow go into those people, that target of, the grocery shops, the companies that sell. They need to start packaging different. They need to start offering better options, for people to be able to buy. Even, I don't know if we can bring our own little baskets or things, but we need to be able to have more, and not just farmers markets where we pay double or triple, but our average groceries, a lot of what we do. So
yeah, we have a pretty big vision, and I hear you 100%. Our vision is to collect the data so that people that are in those responsible positions can actually see it. So there's a lot of numbers thrown out there, and there's a lot of people out there picking up garbage, but we want to create a system that gives accurate data, and that's how corporations make change.
It's called the triple bottom line. Part of it's our world, part of it's social change, and part of it's profit. So, Ramona, thank you for your worthy work and your good participation today. We're so glad you're on this, as I am for all of you. Debbie, it's good to be reconnected after, how many years has it been? 7 or 8?
No, it's actually, my son was young and now he started college. So I think it was like in 2000. So it's probably been 18 or 17 years.
Oh,
or at least 16 years. I know. Time flies.
Yeah.
So I'm serving a very small Presbyterian church in the Finger Lakes area. We're right up against Lake Ontario, and we're in a marvelous agricultural area. We're actually a bedroom community of Rochester, but this whole area is just full of wonderful produce and agriculture, sustainable farms, and so forth. So that relates to the why. But before I get to the why, our identity statement at the church is this: we are a church family seeking personal and spiritual growth through praying, experiencing worship, building relationships, and serving in mission locally and globally. And so that's a great statement, but it doesn't exactly get at a little bit sharper sense of our mission, or exactly what we're doing. And one of our very key members has been keenly aware of that. So we're doing some congregational coaching to try to help us get at the next chapter, particularly structurally and financially. And she pointed out that we really didn't have a good sense of our mission. And then she shared the story that over the summer, somebody came to her and said, "Oh, you're the church that feeds people." Because she knew that we have a free community meal once a month. Last night we had it, and we had 70 people there. And then we've been doing this for a couple of years now. So we're getting some really good traction. People are coming for all kinds of reasons. But when you think about a church, then you're feeding people physically with a meal like that. We're feeding people through worship, through prayer, through spiritual engagements. And so then I'm thinking that we're a church that feeds people might become that tagline, that opening of an elevator speech, that real clarified mission, and then we can get further into the detail of exactly what that looks like.
Can I respond? Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
What you have is a vision statement, and you need a
Okay.
mission statement. Your vision, in simple terms, is to see. This is a concept.
Okay.
Your mission is to do. This is how you
Okay.
do it. So it's the
Okay.
application of that. It's the
Okay.
it's the steps. This is how we do that. So
Okay.
you've got this profound vision statement.
Right.
So if people start thinking about all the things they want to do, then how do you describe that in a concise mission statement?
Okay.
And the number one mistake churches make is they think the Great Commission is your mission statement. No, that's not a choice. That's a biblical mandate. You make disciples. Your mission is what you're going to do with them. And if you don't have a good why, I mean, your vision is really good why. If you don't have a good why, you can try to recruit people, and they're going to ask, why should I come? The church, especially Presbyterian Church, has really lost its identity. You know, we've schismed so many times. And as Richard says, every time we schism, we weaken that particular entity. And we've schismed yet again. And so I think the opportunity you have with a core of profound, committed people to personal growth, that's going to be very contagious and very profound. Okay. So I interrupted you. You were on a roll there. So.
No. So you're saying that because they formulated it before I came, what they've called an identity statement is really the vision statement.
Well, that's still the same. You know, your vision is who you are.
Okay. And then the mission is maybe where we pick up this feeding. We're a church that feeds people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You feed people. You help people. You're committed to weekly, whatever. You know, what are the mechanics of getting there?
Yeah.
In not too many words, but it's the vision is short enough that you can say it. The mission can be a little longer.
Okay.
So go ahead.
No, I think, so I'm kind of excited about that sense that we're a church that feeds people, and I'm anxious to talk with the congregation about how much they feel that fits and they kind of would own it. And then so the big challenge is that we may be trying to connect ourselves with another congregation just to keep our ministries going. And so if we're clear about feeding people in several different ways, then we need to be able to convey that with another congregation that would also kind of own that as well, that's in sync with us. It just becomes a little more of a challenge to say, we're really clear about who we are, and now we want to join with you. And I'm not sure if they're going to be as clear. We're just taking baby steps toward that at this point.
Well, and there might be a chance they have complementing vision. It's not the same vision, it's a complementing vision.
Okay.
So every church doesn't have to do the same thing.
Okay.
You do this, they do that.
Right.
Together, you can cover more turf.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think in the end, where there is more unity amongst the churches, then that's where we gain greater power and greater impact into our communities and our ultimately the world.
Right.
Well, and I think Debbie and all of us, the work of nonprofits and churches is more important than it's ever been in history. Mm-hmm. We got lots of dualistic thinking in DC and lots of people jabbing at each other. We're not talking to each other. And Debbie, that lesson 1, I give you the overview of how to use the storyboards. And Ramona said last week she used it with Scott, and we mapped it out. It's what I call visually displayed thinking.
Okay.
If you use that with a group and people print, you print and you put it on paper and you stick it on the board. People are talking to each other. They're interactive. You're not turning around writing on a chart pad and they see the back of your head and other parts. So, and the energy in the room goes down while you're writing on the board. Well, they write and you put it on the board.
Okay.
So it's a total reversal, and you never use an agenda. Use deliverables. And there's a module later on meetings, but this is what we're going to accomplish. Here's what we're going to do. So they're like goals for your 90-minute session, and you don't have too many. So the methodology I give you is good for you. It's also good to repurpose for group. And what happens is people come together in a way because they know how to talk to each other.
Mm.
And you don't focus on communication. Communication is not an it you focus on. It's a byproduct of relationship and the synergy you create together. So
thank you. I will look that up.
Yeah. So that first lesson you get is stuff you can use. And Ramona already said it was useful. And I've developed this over the last 31 years, and it's become immensely productive, especially where people have varying ideas.
Okay. Great.
And we actually shy away from conflict. Williman, when I interviewed him years ago for my article in Creator magazine, and then he was in my fourth book, and he came to do the symposium here, continues to talk about leadership and how we encourage things to happen. And it could be negative or positive depending on how we approach it.
Mm.
So I'm glad you're on this, and good to be reconnected.
Thank you. Thank you.
The purpose of this is Q&A on the content that you're getting, and different people will be at different stages. That's fine. And you can come. We have 14 people in this cohort. We've now closed the cohort. So I've given you this program, which is time tested, and if you actually apply the principles, they will work for you. Now, there's a payback for me giving you the free program. Number one, payback is you need to be wildly successful. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
All right. Number two, would like you to be a blabbermouth and tell people about the community for community builders. They can join for free. They can join for $5 and get some content. They can join for $40 and get a whole lot more content. This program will no longer be free. It'll be at a discount if they're at the $40 level. And we're doing a series of webinars coming up in how to start a nonprofit that's very strong with all the components, how the 5 pillars of success, creating a high-performance nonprofit. I'm not doing them all. So we're going to offer free webinars, and with the hope that people want to take some programs, but they can learn some things from those. So one way you could help us build a bigger platform with more people like you is to share it with people.
Okay.
And you don't have all the noise you got on the other social media platforms. Nobody's going to censor you here, unless you're mean. All right. So I'm going to stay on if there's any technology questions or particular ones. So come by. I'm here every Thursday at 3 Eastern. And we'll have, as like Susanna said at the beginning, we'll have a page for you to see the previous videos. It's only open to you. And I'd appreciate if you not share with others who've not been in this group with you. But do share the things you've learned. That's a great gift to everyone. So I'm really liking this group. And last week Daniel said, "Poor Hugh, he's the only man." Well, Hugh ain't poor. Hugh's liking this.
Hey, I want to comment to Debbie's thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I like that you're excited about the idea of feeding people. And I think you're onto a good train of thought that could be workable in a collaborative sense, because basically you're feeding food, but you're also feeding, mind, body, spirit, that sort of thing. So I think you're on a good track there.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nutrition, physical ability, spiritual nourishment. There's Ramona, you're so on. So you could rally other organizations that do different things. My wife's left individual church ministry as a minister of music. She's a deacon in the Methodist Church. She's in the district office, like a presbyter. She's a revitalization. Her area is revitalization, and in the Lynchburg district we have 86 churches. Wow. We visited half of them, and I can tell you how many years some of them have till they're closing. But there's some really vital. Yeah. But they're in a church that's closed on Memorial Avenue in Lynchburg. It was closed. But it's been rebirthed with 13 nonprofits. 3 congregations meet there, and there's food for families that feeds 2,500 families a month.
Wow.
But they've been known for the food for families. They have 13 activities. And so they're looking for a global, it's called Parkview Mission. They're looking for a global statement, and I'm helping them do their strategy. The district just owns the building, and they have their office there. But they sit on the board because of that relationship. Yeah. But that Parkview Mission is its own 501c3.
Wow.
And there's free internet. We live in the highest poverty in the Commonwealth of Virginia, right here in 24501.
Wow.
20, almost 25%. But the city, the charities, we're doing something about it. But my message to you is be clear on this feeding, because
Yeah.
there's a whole thread there. So it's not just food,
Yeah.
but you're equiping people for ministry. You're equipping them to get their own food. You're feeding them with knowledge so they can get their own jobs.
Right.
So I think that's a really big piece. I hope that's something helpful to
Wow.
read for you.
Thank you.
You heard it right here. It came
Yes.
from Ramona.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, and I want to tag on a little bit there too, because the piece that would help me even understand gets back to the question of why. So yeah, we're commanded to biblically, but why is that important? People are going hungry. People are emotionally drained, whatever it is, and so it's the connecting that we feed. Why?
Okay.
Would be the one other thing that struck
That's
me
good.
as you were talking is just thinking about it from, I know why that's all important, but for the guy who's sitting in the street, why are all those other things important? And getting back to a little bit of what Hugh was even saying, as far as, you're teaching them so that they can fish for themselves as opposed to having to continue to feed them. And so how you can clearly give that message.
Okay.
Thank you. Just take that one step further.
Okay. Thanks.
So the other piece to consider is Sandy's on the call. She's the acquisitions editor. And if you ever have a story you want to tell on our podcast, blog post, or an article in the magazine, you can go to the website that you're a member of, centervisionleadership.org/interview. And you can fill it out whether it's an article or an interview. It's the community website, centervisionleadership.org. And then I don't list this. It's only send people there I want to send there. So /interview. And then there's a form to fill out, and you can be part of telling your story. And Debbie, as you grow this and you see some fruits of this, we want to hear stories. Every article, every issue of the magazine, there's a story of nonprofits that work. Here's a story. The current one is the story of Rise Against Hunger. It was Stop Hunger Now originally. I don't know if you know that story or not, or if
I don't know the story.
You've ever been on a project that's fed people. But let me show you real fast before we quit here. This is the cover, and you can read it. There's a magazine tab. So there's the founder, Ray Buchanan, who's a friend of ours and lives here. But he founded, this is Stop Hunger Now. And the story in there is about their mission and how he did it and how he let go as founder for the next level of people that are running it now. So it's a legacy that he's created. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line is we tell stories that other people can learn from. So if you have a story, or if you know somebody with a story and others should know it, send it. Sandy and I'll pick it up. Right, Sandy? You're muted. Either you're muted or you're very polite, or both. All right, I'm willing to stay on.
Please.
I'll stay on if you have particular questions. I like to keep this to around an hour. We're not going to be able to do it all the time. I know you have busy lives, but feel free to stay on if you have particular questions. This is a Q&A with Hugh session. It's office hours, so come to the table formulating your questions. Next week we'll drill into the UVP. What do you do differently than anybody else? And the subset of that is what we talked about today, your unique value you bring to it. So what's the unique value proposition that people, it's a compelling reason to come to you that nobody else can do? So this is the next hard thing. So that's called a unique value proposition. Strategic excellence position, there's a number of ways to describe it, but basically what's different about you. And so thank you all for being here, and thank you all for the change that you're facilitating in the world. Ramona.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stick on. I've got some technical questions.
And I also have just I think it's a quick question as well. So sure. I'll stick around as well.
Who wants to go first? Who wants to go first? Where did she go? Oh, Julia, there you are.
Well, go ahead, Arlene, if you have a quick one. I've got like 10 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay. And this is just logistics. I know that when you say that and I missed the very first part where you were talking about the past recordings are being published out somewhere. Is that within the CenterVision?
It is.
Or?
We're creating a page.
Okay.
And we will send you this page next week that we're just going to put all the sessions in there so you can go back and get the archived recordings.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because my Zoom has a different email associated with it. So I think when you pick up that I get messages, sorry you couldn't make it even when I was here. And I think it's because of the wrong email address.
No, it's how I set that up. I need to go change that message. Thank you for that. That's a standard message, and I need to change that. So I thank you.
Okay, no problem. I just, because there were times when I really wasn't here, so that was okay. I just wanted to make sure I knew where to go get those past recordings. So perfect.
We will send that to you. We're creating it because we figured we need a common place for people to go.
That's great.
But
all right, perfect.
It'll be a hidden link just for you.
Oh, just for me. Okay.
Oh, no, you plural.
I know, for the rest of us as well. Thank you, Hugh.
Absolutely. Okay. Good to see you. Julie.
My question, I have to go to a meeting. As far as the past recordings, I just really haven't been engaged, and I want to get caught up. And I don't know how to get to the community, or I need to follow up on the last four assignments so I can get caught up for next week. And so where do I go to get all that?
Are you not getting the content, the program?
I don't know what I'm getting. Let me just see here. I'm just a little overwhelmed.
It's in Kartra.
Kartra? Say that again.
Kartra.
What's that?
That's the content delivery platform.
Do I need to go to that?
Yes, I thought we did that earlier. I'm sorry. I will put the link in the chat if you'll watch. And Debbie, did you get that link to sign up for their content?
I don't think I did.
Well,
so I was hanging around to hear what this was going to.
Bad me.
I thought I had signed up.
I need to get.
I thought you did too. So Debbie, look in the chat. You see that?
Yes.
Copy that link.
Okay.
And then it'll send you an email to validate. I'm going to go look in Kartra real quick.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I saw this. And I signed up.
I did too.
And then I didn't know where to go.
It should have sent you an email. Look in your spam or junk folder.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you have to validate your email.
I did that.
I did that. Yeah, I did too.
And then where do we go?
Go back to where it said to go.
On the email?
Uh-huh.
Welcome to the community for community builders. No.
That's the community where you're going to find the recordings. And that's where, I set up several forums for you. And so there's forums for discussions in the community. There's a lot of really good articles in the blog post. There's a lot of the Tuesday at 2 nonprofit exchange. We interview thought leaders, and they go back 4 years, and we're putting 4 years of content in there. So let me look here.
Because I joined the community, I paid for it. I just welcome to. Here's your login.
All right, that's the community. So there should be. That's
the community.
Kartra. I'm looking for you in Kartra. Adrian's there. Debbie. Yeah, Debbie, you're there.
Okay.
So you should have gotten when you logged into. This is where all your content comes. Renee, Adrian's in twice. Victoria, Erlene's in twice. Ramona. I don't see you in here, Julia.
Okay.
I don't see. So take that link I just put in the chat.
Okay.
This is where all your this is the part.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Julia. I see you now. You are here. You are here.
Yeah,
So
Hugh, I know the reason that I'm in there twice is that there in the beginning appeared to be something with the email was being blocked by my email site. So I had to come in from a different email.
yes,
So how do I get there? That's what I need.
it's app.kartra, K-A-R. Let me copy this.
Yeah, I watched your video and everything. I just, and I'm pretty computer literate, so I think it's just, I just have too much going on right now, and I want to.
Once you log in and you go back, it'll remember you.
Okay.
So try that link, and
Okay.
now Susanna sent you a video on how to navigate around there.
Maybe I have to look. I don't know. Remember what my password was. Sorry if I'm being noisy.
Debbie, are you finding it?
No, and I went to where you said, and it doesn't recognize the email. So, but now wait a minute. I'm trying something on that Unbound Leader page.
Julia, it's F something FFP Nevada Gmail,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then Debbie, where's yours?
Yeah, I'm just resetting my. Oh, it says invalid email.
D Groman 3 at Gmail.
Yes. Okay, so I've got now something from them. I'm going to try logging in.
It's telling me it's an invalid email, fitnevada@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's telling me it's invalid. I'm trying to reset my password. Maybe I didn't log in yet. Maybe that's what it wants me to do.
Yay, I'm in. Okay.
All right, Debbie.
Yay.
How do you spell FIP Nevada?
FFIPNEVADA.
Huh. It looks like that's it. It's kind of small on the screen. Yeah, that's the one you put in here. I think there's an FFIP Nevada Gmail. So that's the one. That's the one you used.
Yeah, it won't let me reset my password. I don't know what the password is. Or do I have to? Do I go to not a member and set it up?
That means you'd be there twice. Let me see. Email, username. Username is FIP Nevada 28F3F9LB. Is that something they sent you? Try this username. I'm going to put it in the chat. And there's the email you used, FFIP Nevada, Gmail. Yeah, Adrienne couldn't get in because she used the wrong, she misspelled her email when she was typing it.
FFIPNEVADA.
You joined on the 14th of September. And we sent you 3 emails.
It's not liking it. I'm not finding it. Oh, wait, maybe I need to go to, wait a minute.
So Debbie,
No.
you finding it?
So I found module 1, but the 2, 3, 4, and 5 are not listed, and 6 is not available.
They will come sequentially every week.
Okay.
They reveal themselves every week.
Okay, so I should just expect to see 1 right now. That's what you're saying? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, great. Thank
And
you.
the whole idea is to have you drill down and focus on that concept, because until you really understand that one, there's no point in going to the next one.
Okay.
Because they build on one another.
Oh.
Marvelous. Okay, so yeah, I got there now. And I did it I didn't seem to have an account set up with Kartra, or it wasn't recognizing me. So they sent me a password and I plugged it in and I'm fine.
Right.
So I will do that, and I will see you be on it next Thursday.
All right, blessings.
Good, thank you.
May the peace of Christ be with you.
All right, you too.
Yeah. Bye, Debbie.
Bye.
So Julia, what are you seeing?
It's saying invalid login.
Can you share your screen with me?
Where do I hear share?
And then you'll see a picture of whatever you're seeing. Just click on that and then go to it.
All right, I think I've got what I need. So thank you, and see you guys next week.
Thanks.
Thanks, Arlene.
Bye, Arlene. Bye-bye.
You see it?
Yeah, and when you click down on forgot password,
Okay. FitNevada@gmail. It says invalid email. Maybe I was supposed to validate something.
you got an email from Kartra somewhere. If you could do in the search, it might even be in your junk or spam folder.
Here's my lot for Unbound Leader.
Wait, go back. That's it. Back up. Back up, that's it. That's your password right there. Yay!
Okay, that's it.
Yay!
And this is the first class?
This is the overview. Now scroll down, see if you see any buttons for, it'll reveal one each week, a new one. Modules, click on modules, see what you get there. You got modules, so that's where you are. So you'll see, it'll reveal, go through this one and then it'll reveal the next one.
Okay, so I'll work on these and be prepared for next week.
Okay, those are the storyboards that we've been talking about right there.
Okay, and then my last question to you is everybody there has been to CEO Space?
No.
Or okay. Okay.
About half the group have, and half the group hadn't.
So our Y is like our Snap then? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, no. Snap is very, very specific to CEO Space, but it's really your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And no, it's not. Your why is what's the problem you're solving.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm with you. I'm following. Yeah.
Well, the discipline of doing the snap is learning to get to the language that cuts through to people's ears, because people filter out too much information. And it's like I was saying to Debbie, we limited pulpit announcements to 3 in the churches where I work, because after a point, people just shut down. And so we're excited when we give them all this data to convince them. Really, we want them to say, I need more time to hear from you. So your overview, 20 seconds and a snap, buys you a 20-minute appointment to get in more depth. So you've gotten their attention. And now they want to know, if they understand why, now they want to go to what and how.
So you had given us, and I got to go in a minute. You had given us a book or a YouTube or something to watch for how to do our why or our speech to get people.
It's in these lessons.
Okay. So I'll just go through the lessons.
Yep.
And so, I'm working with Adam Markle. I'm doing a presentation at a conference in October, and I'm working with him.
Give you really good content to put in your presentation.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know. Thank you so much, and I'm going to get caught up on everything, and I appreciate your help.
There's no pressure on time. It's all your schedule. You take time. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I gotta figure out to end it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Julie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Good to see you again.
Okay.
Sandy, while I've got you on the,
Yes.
get my calendar up, on the 10th, I believe it is. Can we do our call at 9 that day instead of 10?
Yes. Yeah, that'll work.
Great. So let's just use the same Zoom link that I sent you
Okay.
last time, if you don't mind.
Alrighty.
Wait a minute. No, it's next week I need to move it.
Okay.
Next
On the
week.
3rd.
3rd, sorry. Because I need to go down to the concert venue from my concert and meet with them on technical stuff. So I sure would like to do that then. So 9 o'clock on Zoom. And then the following week, I need to be in Christiansburg. So I need to talk to y'all about changing to Tuesday or Thursday. What would be your preference that week? The 9th or the 11th?
The 11th, probably.
Okay. Okay.
So do you want to meet in person somewhere?
I've got a full day with Inorganic Ventures on Wednesday. So by the time I drive down and we do today, I'm beat up and I got to get back. So.
Okay. I see. You're going to be in Christiansburg, but you're not going to be with me.
I'm going to be working. So can we do that day on Thursday?
Okay. So 10 o'clock on Thursday, the 11th?
Yes. Leave the time to today. Otherwise, I would
and Zoom.
Yeah. So otherwise, I'd certainly love to be in person, but that's not the day.
Okay.
I'm finishing a year and a half with Inorganic Ventures, and it's kind of wrapping up some things.
Excellent.
Um,
Last time I checked, which